In life, it's natural to feel a sense of competition. You're working at an office, you want to get the promotion over your coworkers. You're on campus, you want to look the freshest out of your fellow students. It's human nature to want to one-up those around you, but competition is likely the most fierce in the music industry. When people reach a certain level of superstardom, that natural sense of one-upsmanship is made even more complex with the addition of egos. Kanye West and Drake are arguably the two biggest artists in the world today, and while they are currently back on good terms, their history is very complicated. The single motif of their on and off feud has always been that inner desire to be better than each other. I like to relate Drake and Kanye's relationship to that of Prince and Michael Jackson's. A lot of people have this fabricated idea that Michael Jackson and Prince had this passionate hatred for each other in a long-running feud. But when it comes down to it, they were just two megastars who had their possibility for collaborations or studio sessions muddied thanks to the media's constant need to compare the two.
There was never like any rivalry between you and Mr. Jackson?
Oh, not to me, no. Hopefully the press will get to the point where it will it'll be a law where you have to tell the truth. It won't be about speculation. You know, when you get a bunch of musicians around, they don't think of that unless, you know, you're talking about Larry Graham or Sly or somebody like that who actually puts their hands down or something. You know?
While Kanye and Drake have had numerous disagreements, just like MJ and Prince, they both deeply respect each other's talents. But with the modern addition of social media, word travels a lot quicker. And we have seen a healthy competition between two young musical talents morph into doxing, revelations about unknown children, and verbal attacks on family. Kanye West and Drake are set to perform together this Thursday in an effort to raise awareness for Larry Hoover, the ex-leader of the Gangster Disciples, who they see as a political prisoner who has served his time for his crimes and deserves freedom. But before Ye and Drizzy share the stage this coming week, let's recap their 10-year rivalry. By the time that Drake began his musical career, Kanye West was already a household name in the industry with 3 classic albums under his belt, known as the Dropout Trilogy. But Kanye would shock many when he would switch up his sound for his 4th studio record, 808s and Heartbreak. Summoning deep pain from the loss of his mother, Kanye would utilize auto-tune and inspire a generation with his emotionally driven melodies. Many artists today have cited 808s as an album that deeply inspired them and their sound. But the most notable musician to utilize Kanye's style on 808s is Drake. This is truly seen on Drake's 3rd mixtape, So Far Gone. I mean, on the tape. Drake would even sample the opening track off of 808's Say You Will, years later, referring to Kanye's work at this time as the best shit. By the time that Drake began work on his first studio album, Thank Me Later, he would get to work with Kanye. Ye would produce the track Find Your Love and direct the music video for the song Best I Ever Had. As we travel down the Drake and Kanye timeline, it's actually interesting just how little the two have been on the same track, at least for officially released tracks. There's only a handful of songs where Drake and Kanye have shared the same beat, been on the same officially released song. So it's important to note that they would both feature on the track Forever along with Lil Wayne and Eminem for the soundtrack to LeBron James' 2009 documentary, More Than a Game. As the duo worked together in the studio for Drake's inaugural album, they would also do some work for Kanye's upcoming record. As Kanye was putting the final touches on My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy, Drake would record a verse for the track All of the Lights. But when Dark Fantasy was officially released, Drake's verse would not be on the track. While this is a common occurrence in the music world, especially with Kanye projects, some believe that there was a motive behind Drake's verse being trashed. Drake would be seen with Kanye's ex Amber Rose in September of 2010. And while Drake would just brush off the removal of his verse, citing it as part of the process, Kanye and Drake would naturally drift away from each other following Drake's public relations with Amber. The first sign of any beef between the two would really come from some odd shots Drake would throw at Kanye in the early 2010s. Drake would claim that Kanye and Jay-Z stole the idea of a collaboration album from himself and Lil Wayne. And he would continue to throw gas on the fire that was he and Kanye's relationship, as Drake would constantly talk about wanting to surpass his mentor, having lines and verses about taking the throne. Oddly enough, Drake wouldn't just want to be spoken in the same breath as Kanye when talked about in the music world. He didn't just want to be seen as on par with his greatest inspiration. It's very clear that Drake admired Kanye at this young point in his career. He had a very definitive goal, and that was to surpass his greatest inspiration. But the heat would naturally simmer down as time raged on. Drake would begin to create an identity of his own, and the two would be seen together sharing the stage at 2013's OVO Fest. On better terms, the two artists would be big players in the music world and contemplate the idea of a potential collab album. In an interview with The Breakfast Club in early 2015, Kanye would shine some light on this potential project and tease the possibility of the joint record having some life.
I'm just going to say it, and because maybe this will promote it happening. The Wolves song came from a conversation that me and Drake had where we was going to do an album together, and the album is called Wolves.
Drake and Kanye would get back in the studio together in 2016 as Kanye was working on The Life of Pablo. Drake would record the hook for Wolves, which would not be placed on the official version of the track, and also have writing credits on 30 Hours. Kanye would also hop on a Drake track as Drake was preparing to drop Views, being featured alongside Jay-Z on the single Pop Style. Kanye would again make an appearance at the OVO Fest in 2016 and play with the crowd a little, saying some very interesting things.
Is y'all ready for this album? Now I want to talk about Pablo. I want to talk about Views. I want to ask y'all right now, y'all ready for this album?
And what my brother was asking you before was, are you ready if we make the album? That's what he was asking.
In August of 2016, a billboard would be spotted featuring the OVO and Good Music logos, along with the words, "Calabasas is the new Abu Dhabi." OVO and Good Music are Drake and Kanye's respective labels, and of course, both live in Calabasas, literally down the block from each other. This billboard, along with Kanye's words at the OVO Fest, would lead many to believe that the duo were working on some sort of collaboration effort. Drake would then add to the hype, taking to Instagram to post a picture of himself and Kanye with the caption, "There goes the neighborhood." However, when Drake finally dropped Views in 2016, Pop Style would no longer feature Kanye and Jay-Z. Drake instead removed them and had a new verse, taking someone off a track right before an album drops. Doesn't that sound familiar? However, Kanye would put to rest any rumors of tension between himself and Drake, playing Pop Style on the St. Pablo tour and again asking those in attendance if they were ready for this record. We know for a fact that Drake and Kanye recorded some new stuff in 2016, but their relationship would sour as Kanye furthered on his tour. He would say these out-of-pocket things that would strike fans as odd even for someone as brutally honest as Kanye. In one rant, Kanye would throw some shade at radio, saying that DJ Khaled and Drake's song For Free was overplayed.
Khaled and Drake and radio and Doc and 92.3 and everybody. Is it just me? Or did you hear that song so many times? You see one pay for free. They've been paid to play that bullshit over and over and over. And when I say that bullshit, we love Drake. Drake is great. He's a great artist. But Frank Ocean is great too.
Kanye's overall message here was that more younger talents in the music industry should be highlighted on the radio, name-dropping people like Frank Ocean. But Drake would take this comment personally, and the two would cut communications following Kanye's hospitalization in late 2016. When questioned about working with Kanye again, Drake would simply refer to Ye as unpredictable. Obviously, the idea of a Yeezy x Drizzy collaboration would diminish, but the two would actually work together again in 2017. Drake would release his More Life mixtape, and Kanye would be featured on the track Glow. The duo will once again meet in the studio in 2018 during Kanye's legendary Wyoming sessions. And it was in Wyoming that Kanye and Drake would connect on multiple levels. Musically, Drake would absolutely love a beat that Kanye played to him that we would soon know as Lift Yourself. Kanye would tell Drake that he can have the track. With Drake always having a student-mentor relationship with Kanye, he would open up to Ye about his son Adonis. No one knew about Drake's son at this point in time, and Drake wanted to get involved in his child's life. The two would part on good terms, and Kanye would continue to work on the Wyoming records as the summer began. One of those records being Pusha T's Daytona. At this point in time, Pusha T and Drake have had a long-running feud, but as 2018 furthered, things would get a lot more heated. Kanye would produce Daytona, and in turn, produce some tracks where Pusha took some shots at Drake. Most notably, on the closing track Infrared, Push would call out Drake for using ghostwriters. Drake would respond in less than 24 hours with a diss track not only aimed at Pusha T, but also Kanye with Duppy Freestyle. Drake would basically drag Kanye into all of this, saying how he was a hypocrite because he produced a track where Push went after Drake for using ghostwriters when Kanye does the same. But Kanye is a guy who legitimately has a reputation for overcrediting people. There's stories from the Yeezus sessions where someone would legitimately walk into the studio wearing some type of clothing that would inspire Kanye to write a line, and he would give them credits on the song. Kanye's only response would be releasing Lift Yourself, a track that he originally gave to Drake. On the song, Kanye legitimately just lets this beat ride all up until the end of the track, where he spits some nonsensical bars with the sole intention of trolling Drake. Not only was it odd for Drake to put all the attention on Kanye with this response, but also he would come at Pusha saying that Pusha's drug dealing past with his brother was fake and fabricated, which is just an outlandish claim. Drake would truly make things personal at the end of Duppy Freestyle, where he would name drop Pusha T's fiance. And with that, Push would be driven to create what many consider to be one of the most ruthless diss tracks of all time. Pusha T would release The Story of Adidon 4 days after Duppy Freestyle was released, with the cover art featuring Drake in blackface. Push would question Drake's tactic of going after Kanye and essentially reveal to the world that Drake had a child with a porn star. In the track, Pusha would say these words: "Since you name drop my fiance, let them know who you chose as your Beyonce. Sophie knows better as your baby mother. Cleaned her up for IG, but the stench is on her. A baby's involved, it's deeper than rap. We're talking character, let me keep with the facts. You are hiding a child, let that boy come home. Deadbeat motherfucker, playing Border Patrol." Now, it's important to remember that Drake had only told Kanye about this child. So immediately he puts 2 and 2 together and blames Kanye for Pusha learning about Adonis, his son. Understandably, Drake would be very hurt by this, but actually, it would be revealed that Kanye was not the one to tell Pusha about Drake's son. Pusha would clarify that the information actually came from Drake's manager, Noah 40 Shabib.
The information came from 40. It didn't come from Kanye.
Drake would claim that he had some dirt on Pusha T and Kanye that was going to end their careers. But ultimately, this Pusha, Drake, and now Kanye feud would be quickly put to an end by J. Prince. Prince, best known for being a music executive, respected by many, and essentially just known as someone not to fuck with. He would make an executive call to Drake, telling him, do not release a response to The Story of Adidon.
I call it a pig pen mentality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I spoke with Drake, you know what I mean? I made OG call to Drake this morning, telling him, I don't want you to respond to this. We're going to put this to bed. You know what I mean? We're going to put this to bed because, you know, we can't get in a pig pen with pigs, and then because pigs turn into hogs and then hogs get slaughtered.
And that's not us.
Yeah.
J. Prince played a very pivotal role in Drake's rise to fame. He's literally the reason that Drake was introduced to Lil Wayne. So when J. Prince tells him not to do something, Drake listens. And although he called off his rebuttal to The Story of Adidon, Drake would find a way to shoot back at Kanye. And he would do so on Travis Scott's track, Sicko Mode. It's no secret that Travis Scott and Kanye are very close. Kanye would have a hand in producing Travis's first mixtape, Al Pharaoh, alongside Mike Dean, and also give him his first big break, having him featured on Cruel Summer back in 2012. Kanye really took Trav under his wing, and they legitimately are family, both having ties to the Kardashian-Jenner clan. On the track, Drake would essentially allude to having sex with Kanye's wife, Kim Kardashian. Like I spoke about, they lived down the block from each other in Calabasas, and Drake's claiming here that he crept down the block, made a right, and cut the lights. Drake having a sneak diss on Travis's hit track would deeply affect Kanye. Ye would express his feelings saying, "Fuck sicko mode, family first." Kanye would also go on a legendary rant while walking in Chicago speaking on Drake before getting interrupted by a train.
Hold on, this train going by.
In the video, Kanye would acknowledge the regrets that he has. He wishes he told Pusha not to diss Drake on his track, but also he would condemn Drake for not respecting his family or his wife. While some may roll their eyes because obviously Pusha didn't respect Drake's family, Drake is the one who name-dropped Pusha's fiance first. Ultimately, your perspective on this situation really depends on whether you believe that Kanye told Pusha about Drake's son or not. Kanye speaks his mind with no filter far too much to not either admit or contradict this statement, in my opinion. With both Drake and Kanye hurt by each other's actions, each other's words, they would completely cut ties at this point. Kanye would mention Drake a few times in 2020 when he was talking about how all artists deserve to own their own masters, the rights to their music. But other than that, really no interaction between these two whatsoever for almost 2 years going on 3. With Kanye getting more and more controversial, it was apparent that Drake really had no interest in reconnecting with Kanye. But the two would begin to interact once again in 2021. Kanye would really step back into his role on top of the music world when he began to host his Donda listening events. While Kanye had really pushed the restart button on the Donda project and began hyping up his 10th studio album around summertime, Drake had actually been hyping up the release of his upcoming album, Certified Lover Boy, all year. We're not forgetting that haircut. But many, including Kanye, believe that Drake actually began to push his album's release date back as Kanye began Donda's rollout. Either way, the two biggest stars in music today were both teasing new releases, and there was an odd tension before either project even dropped. People debating about who was better, Kanye or Drake, who was going to have the better album, but then things would go from the general public just debating about Kanye and Drake to things getting personal between the two. On August 20th, Trippie Redd would drop his new album and have one track on it featuring Drake. The song, titled Betrayal, would have some choice words in Drake's verse going after Kanye. Essentially, Drake's lyrics are scoffing at the idea that people would even compare him and Kanye. 4544, burned out, let it go. Ye ain't changing shit for me, it's set in stone. Needless to say, Kanye was not happy when he heard this, and he mastered up this group text, including Virgil Abloh, Jay-Z, Kid Cudi, and Drake himself, where he said this: "I live for this. I have been fucked with by nerd-ass jock N-words like you my whole life. You will never recover, I promise you." Kanye would also post a screenshot on Apple Maps of Drake's Toronto home, but quickly delete this after people claimed that he was trying to dox Drake, which I think is kind of an unfair statement, being that Drake's Toronto home is very well known. It's literally like people go there to take pictures and such. Needless to say, Donda would drop on August 29th, and 4 days later, Drake would release Certified Lover Boy. On the night of CLB's release, September 3rd, Drake would go on Night Owl Radio, which is essentially his label's radio station, and kind of celebrate the release of his album by playing a leaked Kanye track. He would play a song that was left off Donda, titled Life of the Party, featuring Andre 3000. Now, Kanye fans have known about this track since 2020. It was kind of considered a lock for the Donda album, played at a private Vegas listening event a few weeks before the first listening event, but it was oddly never played at any of the 3 public listening events that Kanye held for Donda, and it was left off the album for a reason. The version we heard here had Kanye's verse changed. The version we knew what the version sounded like because leaks and then also people recording at the private listening event. But you have this really emotional Andre 3000 verse talking about his mother and asking Donda to literally reach, in heaven out to his mother and ask her these questions as he's trying to rejuvenate his belief in a heaven in God. It's very emotional. And then Kanye comes in, and it is not the verse we know. It doesn't vibe at all with Andre's, and it takes all his personal petty issues he has with people in his life, majorly Drake, and he's basically just taking shots. And while Kanye's verse is crazy here, it was kind of seen as disrespectful, and it really didn't mesh well with Andre's verse whatsoever. Kanye would speak on Drake finding his sound thanks to 808s, reference Calabasas is the new Abu Dhabi. And while yes, awesome verse, it is just very clear that, this was not intended to be released. Andre 3000 would personally take to social media to make a comment about the matter. He said that basically Kanye last minute decided to censor Donda, and he did not want his verse censored, so he said leave the track off the album, and Kanye abided by his wishes. Thankfully, after this, and I think we can kind of thank Drake for this, Kanye would release Life of the Party as a single, uncensored, just the thing as is, but he would take all his disses out and bring it back to that spiritual vibe of Donda. But as tensions between Kanye and Drake seemed higher than ever with no resolution in sight, they would both be forced to put their egos to the side for a cause they deemed more important. Now on Donda, Kanye features Larry Hoover Jr. on the outro of the song Jesus Lord. Larry Hoover Jr. is of course the son of Larry Hoover. Hoover was infamously the leader of the Gangster Disciples and would be arrested for ordering a hit on a 19-year-old neighborhood drug dealer. But after being busted for giving orders to the GDs from jail, Hoover was hit with 6 life sentences and sent to a maximum security prison where he currently is today. So the question many have is, why should Larry Hoover be free? Well, the argument that many have is that Hoover wasn't your typical gang leader. He was a community builder who led organized crime. While he is responsible for lives, which is nothing to pass over, his supporters believe that he has served his time. At the age of 70, it's not very probable that if Hoover does get free, that he's just immediately going to go get back involved in the gang life. His supporters argue that 6 life sentences is overkill and see him as a political prisoner. Kanye has been raising awareness to Larry Hoover's situation since 2018, encouraging Donald Trump to put into motion the First Step Act. But Hoover remains in prison, and the goal of his son is essentially to raise awareness to his father's cause. And this is where Jay Prince comes back into the fold. Essentially, what better way is there to raise awareness towards an issue than have 2 of the biggest artists in the world come together for one special event? Prince would meet with Kanye and Hoover's family before officially putting out a video with Ye on November 8th. In the video, Kanye officially puts an end to himself and Drake's feud and mentions a live event where the two would come together for the Hoover cause.
I'm making this video to address the ongoing back and forth between myself and Drake. Both me and Drake have taken shots at each other, and it's time to put it to rest. I'm asking Drake on December 7th to join me on stage as a special guest to share the 2 biggest albums of the year live in Los Angeles, with the ultimate purpose being to free Larry Hoover. I believe this event will not only bring awareness to our cause, but prove to people everywhere how much more we can accomplish when we lay our pride to the side and come together.
2 days later, on November 10th, Drake would be seen with Jay Prince and Larry Hoover Jr., insinuating that he was down for Hoover's cause. Finally, on November 16th, Drake and Kanye would put their feud to an end as they would be photographed together alongside Jay Prince at Drake's Toronto home. Although Drake and Kanye both look like they're being held at gunpoint whenever they're in the same frame as Jay Prince, we know that not only are they getting along professionally, but they're also getting along personally, as that same night they would both post videos where they're hanging out and having fun. An official Free Larry Hoover benefit event would be set for December 9th, 2021 at the Los Angeles Coliseum, with tickets going on sale Monday, November 22nd. No matter what you think about the cause, all eyes will be on Drake and Kanye this Thursday. It is pretty amazing to see two megastars come together, putting their personal issues and egos to the side for a cause that they believe is right. While both are extremely talented on their own, Kanye West and Drake could make some serious magic if they step back into the studio together. While it is unknown whether we will get another Kanye-Drake collaboration with the two coming together for this event, one thing is certain. With Drake and Kanye West back together again, there goes the neighborhood.